hold up your end of the ceasefire. I like that there is like a fantastic opportunity happening here, and you guys are you guys are trying to relitigate the conversation I had with Bradley Martin. Don't worry, I will literally. I don't personally believe Donald Trump is a peaceful dove. Make no mistake. And I don't personally think Donald Trump is going to be good for the Palestinian population. Make no mistake. I don't think he's going to end the Israeli apartheid. If you think he's going to do that, you are also delusional. But on this day, on this glorious day, it's hard not to say, look, the big dog, he did it. The big dog did it. We'll start off with Al Jazeera. There are already celebrations taking place on the streets.
A couple hours turned this whole area into a stage of celebration, something that we're not used to see as early hour of this morning. And what we see in the past days, this area here at the hospital used to be a stage for funerals for bodies that are killed and brought to the hospital, much of it filled with agony and sadness. But the past couple hours have been particularly different, more of an expression of much of the feelings that have been suppressed for the past 15 months. And without going into the details of the terms, people came together and got in groups here celebrating, whether in the hospital or in the streets on 10 sites across the Gaza Strip and further in the northern part of the Strip in Al-Mawasi.
Damn, my guy would have given Reagan credit for releasing the Iranian hostages. I think the thing that you don't understand in that process is that even if there was incompetence, you're talking about a foreign adversary, not stopping a foreign ally. Joe Biden had the opportunity to do this with one phone call. I talked about this virtually every single day for 15 months, that Joe Biden can stop this today. He can stop it tomorrow. He can stop it yesterday. He chose not to do so. Do you understand? He chose not to do so. Israel was the party that was responsible for refusing to recognize the conditions set forth by Hamas early on, the conditions that Joe Biden represented as the conditions that Israel had placed on the ceasefire negotiations on July 2nd. And the deal that is in place right now is virtually identical to those deals. There have been more than 30 different instances where Hamas tried to facilitate a ceasefire. Israel refused it every step of the way. Joe Biden made it seem as though Israel was not the actual responsible party for refusing to deal with a ceasefire, and it was actually Hamas that was ruining it. And that's what's crazy about the situation, because Joe Biden had virtually every moment, every opportunity, all the power, all the cards to stop this by forcing Israel to meet his demands. And for a lot of liberals, I think this is impossible to contend with. Giving Donald Trump the opportunity to take credit for the ceasefire is entirely in the hands of Joe Biden. If you think that Trump, additional pressure from Trump and the whole like cut it out narrative that Trump applied in this situation, or maybe even a secret side deal that he cut with Benjamin Netanyahu, which will inevitably lead to possibly infinitely more bloodshed down the line, which I do believe he did. But if you think that Donald Trump was not the mover and shaker in this circumstance, and it was Biden, and he just like simply couldn't facilitate this for 15 whole months and was able to do so in the last second, you're out of your mind. Here it is. A diplomat briefed on the ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas credited progress in the talks in part to the influence of President-elect Donald Trump, saying it was the first time there has been real pressure on the Israeli side to accept the deal. Who was ruining the deal? Who was refusing to abide by the deal? Was it Hamas? Was there more pressure necessary on Hamas? Was that the case, chatters? Did you learn nothing from my coverage for the past 15 months on this? You didn't hear anything? You just went, la, 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 can't hear you? No, Biden kept lying over and over again. Anthony Blinken kept lying over and over again throughout the entire process. There are numerous instances where I continuously showed you over and over again that Anthony Blinken would go on tour and openly state that it was actually Hamas that was the spoiler of the deal. It was actually not Israel that was the spoiler of the deal. It was Hamas. When we could see with our own two eyes who was actually spoiling the deal. So one must ask the question, why was Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden actively defending the Israeli side of the conversation? And why is everyone saying Trump pressured Netanyahu? Come on, man. Y'all are out of your goddamn minds if you think that The Biden administration finally packed this up. 2 weeks ago, Biden gave $8 billion of arms to Israel. 2 weeks ago. Not even, I mean, yeah, January 3rd. Working tirelessly around the clock for a ceasefire. I guess you genuinely believe that when they were saying it. Yeah. The grossest side of this process is that Biden had all of the power. He is the president of the United States of America. He could have done this. He could have done this day one. He could have done this early October 2023. He could have done it in November. Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden actively sabotaged the peace talks, the ceasefire talks, and defended the Israeli side by lying to the public. Here it is. Blinken apparently tanks ceasefire negotiations by fabricating a story to make Netanyahu look good. One of the many lies the Biden-Harris admin told to shield Israel from criticism. This is from the Times of Israel reporting from a couple months back. He pointed to a meeting Blinken held with Netanyahu in August, after which the secretary announced that the Israeli premier had accepted a U.S. bridging proposal for a hostage deal. The Arab official, along with a member of Israel's negotiation team, told the Times of Israel that this was empathetically not what had unfolded in the meeting, and that Blinken's comments had thrown a major wrench in that round of talks, which ultimately fell apart. How many times do I have to show you the receipts? I mean, I was there. I was covering it in real time. If Democrats knew, yeah, this was a funny tweet from Ryan. If Democrats knew that losing the election might lead to a ceasefire in Gaza, they'd have fought harder to win. Yeah, credit where credit is due. Teflon Don, he did it. The Mad Lad, he did it with a goddamn real estate developer he golfs with too. That is how much power America has over Israel, and not vice versa. It's all a matter of who holds the cards. It's all a matter of actually pulling the levers of power if necessary. There is no defense for the Democratic Party on this day. There is no defense. It's just untrue. You want something. You can be critical of Donald Trump. You can shit on Donald Trump, and I certainly will for the rest of this day. But in this very moment, if you are reaching so far and wide that you make it seem as though Joe Biden had anything to do with this, aside from routinely allowing Israel to just do whatever it wanted over and over and over and over again, you're out of your mind. Anyway, yeah, remember the ceasefire button was a youthful TikTok fantasy. Here's Matthew Iglesias. I'm out of touch with the youth, but my sense is that there are now millions of pseudo-informed people gassed up on TikToks and Instagram Reels who believe there's some kind of permanent ceasefire button in the Oval Office that Biden is perversely refusing to press. So what happened? What happened? Did Trump find the button? Was it next to the Diet Coke button? What happened? How do we hit the button? It seems like there was a button. Everyone kept saying, Hasan, you are so childish. You are so childish for making it seem as though this is just a simple phone call away. A ceasefire is a simple phone call to Israel, okay? Not to Hamas. No applying pressure to Hamas. Like, they're literally Israel is genociding the Gaza Strip. What more pressure can you do than genociding an entire area where 2 million people once lived? That's it. You've maxed out on the pressure. Ridiculous. By the way, make no mistake, if Donald Trump also, just take photos is correct. If Trump is also able to overturn the TikTok ban too, oh my God, dude. It's an endless faucet of pro-Trump sentiment coming from Trump is going to give the Republican Party the Reagan advantage for generations to come. And there is no liberal counter. There is no institutional counter to any of this stuff. He's just taking advantage of the ginormous failures, the patently and roundly panned awful decision-making of the Democratic Party to make himself look good. The button was Bibi's candidate of choice for winning. You're out of your mind, dude. Benjamin Netanyahu has no say in this process. All they can do is try and undermine American interests in the region. But at the end of the day, if America's like, oh, yeah, you're going to continue killing people even though I want you to do this ceasefire. OK, how about no more weapons? What's going to happen when they don't get Tamir interceptors, dude? What do you think would happen if American cruisers and aircraft carriers in the region go, OK, we're turning around then? What do you think happens to Israel then? What do you think happens to Israel without the 2,000-pound bombs that we were consistently sending to Israel as they kept literally running out of ammunition because they dropped multiple nukes worth of munitions on Gaza? What do you think would happen to Israel if America was like, all right, we're not protecting you anymore then? Are you out of your mind? What is the Iron Dome without Tamir interceptors? It's nothing. There is no world where Israel gets to do what it's doing without, and every step of the way, America saying, yeah, we love this. Keep going. We love it a lot, actually. Okay? We love it so much. Yeah, the Iron Dome without interceptors is an umbrella. It's not even an umbrella. It doesn't stop anything. The reality is the reason why nothing has happened for the whole time Biden was in power is because he's completely disabled. My friend is an intern in DC and young people are to talk. No, I mean, Biden's ineptitude aside, like, they wanted this. The Democrats, as a administration, wanted this to continue. The narrative for Hawks is now Trump is just better at applying pressure. I mean, is it wrong? Is that wrong? Is that the wrong narrative? No, the real narrative is there's a button that must have been pressed somewhere along the line. And Trump was like, yeah, it's done. Okay, I'll give you whatever you want later down the line, but just cut this out right now. That's what I think. In this brief moment, there is a moment of solace here, and there will most likely be a tremendous amount of pain that comes later down the line. But ultimately, is it false? Is it false that Donald Trump, even when he wasn't president, was able to literally facilitate by applying pressure to Israel? Is it wrong? It's not. You got so much information coming out of the Biden White House where they actively told Israel, yeah, go blow shit up in Lebanon. It's great. We love it. You know, keep going. And even if you don't have insider information, you have outsider eyes to look at the situation. Every day, there's another report of Biden being like, oh, I'm so angry with Benjamin Netanyahu. Here's another $8 billion of weapons, sir. That's crazy. Great, though. It seems like the same media apparatus that actively defended Israel's genocidal ambitions is now trying to reframe the narrative in an effort to give Biden credit 5 days before he leaves office, when he very clearly openly and openly kept lying at the behest of Israel over and over and over again. And it's great. It's great. You want to know why? Because people already don't trust mainstream media. Now they're going to go, what the fuck are you talking about? We have eyes. We have ears. We have a brain. I can see what Biden did for the past 15 months. Do you think Trump gets credit? I mean, Trump is going to get credit regardless. He's going to get credit from, obviously, every single outlet on the right. That's number one. And this is a credit-worthy moment. Last but not least, I think that for many people that have noticed what is going on, many people that are aware of what's happening, people are going to continue despise Biden for coming out and saying like, no, we did this. We finally did this, Jack. Ridiculous narrative. Shocking.
Will hold.
I'm confident. Thank you.
Folks, credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
What's going on in Los Angeles will become fairly common in years to come unless the global community comes together, change our energy systems, and take on lies. Anyway, you're talking to people that did not give a shred of a damn about the genocide. They spent this year telling anyone who's pro-Palestine to shut the fuck up, never looked into it, so they think they can just make stuff up as an argument for Biden's legacy. Fuck Biden's legacy. His legacy is one of genocide. Does this mean the no new wars narrative is real? No, it's not. I mean, you guys understand, like, every single thing that has unfolded so far is exactly what I told you is going to happen, right? Like, this is not unexpected unless you weren't listening to what I was saying this entire time. I warned the Democratic Party when the election was happening that Donald Trump is going to cut a side deal with Benjamin Netanyahu. You have the power to end this now. Use it. They didn't do it. I called this for months. I said this was going to happen. This exact same thing that is happening, I said is going to happen, and it's happening to a T. Down to the wire. It is a 1-to-1 almost comparison of exactly what I said was going to happen. How is this shocking to anyone in this community? You guys just like plug your ears and close your eyes when I'm doing commentary on this? I've been saying this is going to happen for months. And now that it has, people still turn around and go, oh, I don't know about that. Now, it's not fully done anyway. Netanyahu says the Hamas folded on the dispute over the Philadelphia corridor, but as the several items in the framework have yet to be finalized, we hope the details will be finalized tonight. Liberals in the chat trying to say, this guy was actually the principal negotiator.
More than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th.
I'm just going to run that again, just so, because you didn't.
More than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th.
Hezbollah on October the 7th did a brutal massacre? You think that guy did the ceasefire? That guy, he just remembered he had the power 5 days before he's out? What kind of ridiculous false reality are we living in where people even like entertain the notion that this is competent leadership in display. Of course, liberals are going to lose permanently and forever. You are making the most reactionary, stupid, mouth-breathing losers look sane when you try to literally justify anything that you're seeing here. Anything. Like, it's psychotic. It's QAnon. This is QAnon, okay? There is no difference functionally between trying to say Biden is a competent leader and he really tried really, really hard to facilitate a ceasefire, even though all evidence points to the direct contrary, okay? And he finally did it 5 days before his administration ended. The foreign policy genius, like, to me, running with that narrative is unironically no different than QAnon, being a QAnon supporter, thinking that there is, like, he also said he spoke to the Emir of Kuwait to thank him for the ceasefire deal when he was, oh God, it was the Emir of Qatar. Oh my God. He doesn't have a PhD in foreign policy, chat. He's just that good. This is Twitch liberals right now. Most vindicated image in political history. Okay, smart guy, let's see you take a crack at it. Oh, I love that. Yeah, it turns out someone else did take a crack at it, dude. I mean, I covered this yesterday. Even the flex mode that, like, the fact that Donald Trump used a random real estate developer that he golfs with to be his envoy, to be his voice in the room. The fact that his envoy, his voice in the room, told Benjamin Netanyahu, I don't give a fuck about Shabbat, and forced him to talk on a Saturday. These are aesthetic moves that is exactly in line with the way that Donald Trump plays hardball. Like, straight up, he did that deliberately. That is supposed to, that right there, him not sending like a serious a serious person within his cabinet and tasking a random real estate developer that he golfs with to be the guy is already disrespectful. That's number one. It's a way to reassert dominance. It's a way to show who's in charge here. That's number one. Number two, the fact that that guy was also actively being like, yeah, I don't care. You're going to work on Saturday. I don't give a shit. Like, that is disrespectful. That is incredibly disrespectful. But that kind of disrespect is exactly the way that Donald Trump, like a shitty real estate developer, would cut side deals. You know what I mean? To play hardball. This is why he won. Yeah, he did. Lib chatters parroting Matthew Miller. Miller says the ceasefire was conceived by this administration, and admin officials traveled the world to garner support for. Miller says this proposal dates to late May, and Biden went around the world getting support for it, which left Hamas isolated and alone. In fact, Hamas accepted the terms in May and again in July. They're still lying about it. That's what's crazy. Like, this is Hamas's proposal from May, and they're still actively lying to defend Israel after Benjamin Netanyahu fucked Joe Biden, okay? Think about that. Even if you don't think Trump applied pressure, Benjamin Netanyahu actively over Joe Biden. Actively. He was like, yeah, I'm not going to play ball. I'm not going to play ball. I'm not going to play ball at all. And they're still defending Israel to the last second of power. That is crazy. State Department briefing. The first since mid-December just started. Matt Miller is excitedly talking about normalizing relations with Saudi Arabia since there's now a ceasefire. So it wasn't Biden then, but mainly Netanyahu. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Of course it was Biden. Biden holds all the cards. Biden controls the levers of power. We are the American government. What are you saying? Biden's incompetence in this process doesn't change the dynamic, doesn't change the power that he has, doesn't change that, like, the people in his inner circle actively wanted this genocide to continue. That's it. That's it. Biden loves genocide. Make no mistake. He loved it. He loved every moment of it. And luckily for him, it is going to continue until the last day that he's in office. The Democrats alongside Biden also loved it. Seemingly they did. They didn't do enough about it. They didn't do anything about it. They applied zero pressure. There were a couple Democrats who did, and that's it. And they were cast aside. Ridiculous. If you expect me to just sit here and lie to you and act like Biden actually did this last-ditch effort to finally press the Netanyahu government, that's ridiculous. It's not going to, you want me to lie to you. You know what I mean? You want me to actively lie to you to feel better. Okay, I get it. I hate Donald Trump. So I understand why in this very moment you're like, well, still, maybe it wasn't. Why are you giving credit to Trump? It's like giving credit to Reagan. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you giving credit to Trump? He cut a side deal with Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, whose fault is it that the genocide continued in that process? Who's doubly at fault here for allowing this to be an election defeating issue? It's Biden. It's Biden and the rest of the Democratic Party and those in positions of power who had every opportunity to stop what was going on, even when it was electorally beneficial, even when it was the moral thing to do, even when it was the right thing to do, and they chose not to do it. Make no mistake. That's it. There's no way out of this situation logically. Like, think about it logically. Think about what you're saying. Think about what you're defending in this process. I tweeted this a couple days ago. I said, I guess Trump is an infinitely better statesman than the foreign policy genius Biden. Or maybe Biden wanted to continue killing Palestinian children so bad, he was willing to throw the election away. And now for $100 million, Trump will likely allow the permanent annexation of West Bank. So what is it? Is it that Trump is a better deal maker? Or what was it that Biden just couldn't do this for 15 months and simply got himself ready to muster up the courage to finally do what's right? Is that what you think? If you are oblivious to the reality of what unfolded for the past 15 months, and if you still choose at this very moment to give some semblance of support to a dying man who is a genocidal monster, Joe Biden, as though he had any say in this process whatsoever, you will forever be blinded to the truth. You will always find yourself going, I wonder why. I wonder how I got things so wrong. And it's not like this was unexpected. This is something that I told you was going to happen. This is something that I told you was going to happen over and over again. Trump's greater ambitions for allowing Israel to absolutely destroy the West Bank and permanently annex it will most likely unfold later down the line. But they need a moment of respite, Israel, to rearm, resupply, try to rebuild the PR disaster of 15 months of genocide. Trump will offer them all of the assurances, all of the security, endless contracts, and that is something that I'm very fearful of. They've attacked Jenin already today. They haven't stopped attacking Jenin. They haven't stopped attacking the West Bank, and they're most likely going to do a much larger push. They're most likely going to do a much larger push down the line when they have the actual capacity to do so. They got their shit pushed in Lebanon. Okay, the Israeli economy is on fire. They have to rebuild a little bit before they can make an active effort to permanently annex the West Bank. Trump is going to give them the bandwidth. I read this from Ilan Pape this morning. Historically, I'm willing to say with some caution that this is the last phase of Zionism. Historically, such developments and ideological movements, whether they are colonials or empires, it's usually the final chapter that is the ruthless one, the most ambitious one, and then it's too much, and then they fall and collapse. Yes, Netanyahu had absolutely no respect for Biden. It doesn't matter if Netanyahu has no respect for Biden. I agree with you. He didn't, okay? He treated him like a fool, like a doddering old fool, over and over and over again. But guess what? Biden has the power. Biden had the power every single day of the week. Biden had the power on October 8th to stop Israel. You understand that? None of the death and destruction would have taken place if Biden made a phone call and said, cut it out. He stopped it in 2021 with one singular phone call, as many presidents in the past have done so. If you think, like, this is the thing that is very frustrating to me, okay? Israel is a violent apartheid regime that is a settler colonial enterprise, benefits America's interests in the region. That much is true, which is why Israel gets a lot of bandwidth in doing whatever it wants, and even sometimes actually undermining the American intelligence community, spying on American diplomats, things of that nature. That's because there is a larger agenda there. But a lot of people, I think, fall into this silly way of thinking where they think like, oh, well, Israel owns America. Like, no, Israel doesn't own America. America owns Israel. Israel is our weapon. Israel is our shield. Israel is our settler colony. We took it over from the British, and it's been ours in perpetuity. The British started the process, and we took it over, and it's been ours. It's the 51st state for a reason. So the idea that like Biden was being made fun of and being bullied by Netanyahu and thinking that that has any sort of play here, aside from reasserting the idiotic nature of Joseph Robinette Brandon, is so silly, is so stupid. It's false. It's false thinking. Want to remind everyone that the majority of Americans think Israel's committing a genocide. Overwhelming majorities want a permanent ceasefire, and it could have been done with a 10-minute phone call from the White House that ends with no more weapons till you listen. I said this on August 7th, 2024, a month after Biden came out and lied and said this is Israel's own deal. Israel refused to sign the deal. Scahill said today that the Trump won the ceasefire narrative is true, but it also shouldn't be overstated, as it also works to give Netanyahu domestic political coverage with it being so unpopular. What do you think about that? It doesn't matter. I'm not covering this from like the Israeli side of things. Benjamin Netanyahu is self-interested. And part of the reason why he probably did this is because he truly believes that Trump has his back. Here, I want to show you two different things as well that make no sense in terms of like the way that Biden and Kamala Harris operated. Look at this. Number one, adults' historical rating of U.S. presidents. How do you think each of the following presidents will go down in history? As an outstanding president, above average, average, below average, or poor? 37% said poor about Joseph Robinette Brandon. The lowest, the number one at the, it has the highest level of disapproval and the second highest net positive disapproval, net negative approval rating. Basically trying to compete with Richard Nixon. And the only reason why Nixon actually ended up defeating Biden in that equation of historic levels of unpopularity is not because of his net disapprovals. Or not net, sorry, his disapproval rating. It's because of the fact that there were very few people. There were less people that were saying he was doing a good job. Anyway, new poll. It's clear Harris lost a lot of votes because of Biden's admin support for Israel's genocide. Our poll out today with YouGov finds Biden 2020 voters who did not vote for Harris name ending Israel's violence in Gaza as the top issue affecting their choice to vote. Oh, wow. That's shocking. Even higher than the economy. 29%. When Biden 2020 voters who do not vote for Harris in 2024 were asked which one of the following issues was most important in deciding your vote, they selected ending Israel's violence in Gaza. The second most important was the economy. Third most important was Medicare and Social Security. This issue played a key role in battleground states as well. Across 6 battleground states that flipped from Biden and Trump, 20% of these voters said ending Israel's violence in Gaza was their top issue. The second most cited reason behind only the economy. Remember that. And I showed you 30 plus polls on this matter throughout the election. And I begged people to listen and no one did. And here we are. And people are still trying to play catch up and you know, actively make it seem like the reality that unfolded in front of your eyes is actually not real. Here we are. Here we are, dude. And people are still trying to actively make it seem as though he did a fantastic job here. It's crazy. There's going to be additional battles here with allowing third-party investigators into and NGOs into Gaza. Israel's going to try to stop that. Donald Trump is probably going to play a role in not allowing that to happen. Okay, there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more violence to come. There's going to be a lot more hatred and awfulness to come out of this process. I do not for a second believe that Donald Trump is in any way, shape, or form invested in the defense of Palestinians. But make no mistake, that doesn't mean that Joe Biden was in any way, shape, or form invested in the defense of Palestinians either. None of them are. Of course, the only judge that ruled for Israel gets to be the next president of the ICJ. Oh, great. Major shift at the ICJ as pro-Israel judge poised for presidency. Great stuff. This is why I'm so frustrated, because Palestinians have no allies in any of these institutions. None whatsoever. The only ally the Palestinians have is the truth. The only ally the Palestinians have is morality. And that's what's crazy about it, because these institutions are deeply immoral. It's a terrifying predicament. Even if this was Biden's ceasefire, the idea that he will be remembered for this and not for how long he let the genocide go on is a liberal fantasy. He had the ability to get this exact deal through at least 8 months ago. Could have done something else even earlier. Also, normies are never going to see this as a Biden's deal. They'll see it as Trump's deal if they remember it at all. Yeah, good threads on some initial thoughts on the ceasefire from Yusuf Menayer. A few thoughts on the ceasefire agreement which seems to be reached, perhaps even announced from Doha in the coming hour. Thank God, the 2 million people in Gaza who have paid the highest price over the last 15 months desperately need this evil genocide to come to an end. From mass killing to starvation to ethnic cleansing and displacement, what they have endured is not something anyone should have to endure. The world has failed them time and time again, and we must hang our heads in shame for these failures before them. The effects of this genocide over the last 15 months, and let's hope the bombs stop permanently now, will still be killing Palestinians for years to come. From unexploded ordnance to the destruction of the health system, the cancer-causing poison that has saturated Gaza's landscape from Israeli bombs. The mass killing of Palestinians is likely to continue even if it shifts forms. It is also highly likely that Israel will continue to bomb Gaza after the ceasefire agreement, just as it did in Lebanon. The exchanges make this a little different, but constant monitoring from the guarantors will be needed to ensure it doesn't just continue after or during phase one of the exchange. From the U.S. end, the enforcement will come from the Trump admin, so we will see how that goes. This ceasefire could have been achieved months ago. Since the 7th of October, the Biden administration and Netanyahu have been navigating a process of finding out how to swallow the failures of that day, and their only answer has been to attempt to wash it away with ever more Palestinian blood. This didn't work despite their best efforts, though Netanyahu, for now, is in a more secure political place than he was in late 2023. That is the main reason we are seeing a deal be agreed to by Israel, even as Palestinians have been offering an exchange and calling for a ceasefire since October 2023. Netanyahu and Trump would like to make it seem like the ceasefire is a product of Trump's magic, but it is primarily a product of Israel's failures on the ground. Their military has succeeded in destroying Gaza and civilian life, but Hamas's numbers, according to Blinken yesterday, haven't changed much, which is the least shocking thing of all time. After 15 months, this is exactly what happened with the Taliban too. After 15 months, the Israeli military was still taking losses in towns they cleaned multiple times. In the process, the Israeli military probably killed numerous Israeli hostages. Since Hamas has been long willing to make an exchange deal since October 2023, 9th of October 2023 is the first time that they were like, don't go into the Gaza Strip and we'll release all the hostages and give us a port and release Palestinian prisoners. Some shape or form of this ceasefire negotiation that has been implemented has been pushed by the Hamas side since October 9th. Straight up, 30 plus times they put forth a deal for a ceasefire that looked almost identical to the ceasefire deal that is in front of us now. They could make a deal when they were ready to say yes, so they played it out alongside American politics and delivered this little victory to Trump while thoroughly embarrassing Biden, who has done everything possible to suck up to the Israelis anyway, even if it meant losing the White House to Trump. He will truly go down as the worst president in U.S. history. Netanyahu knows this round has run its time out, and he's hoping to cash in his credit with Trump, whom he will have less leverage over in the short term to continue his theocratic expansionist dreams in the West Bank, Lebanon, and Syria. While the pace of killing will hopefully slow in Gaza, Israel will likely escalate and extend its violence elsewhere. Do not take your eyes off Palestine. This is precisely what Netanyahu was counting on. Exactly. Haaretz is reporting that Netanyahu is already starting to sabotage the deal. Netanyahu's deal with Smotrich means abandoning 65 hostages in Gaza. Haaretz's Zvi Barel confirms the government has no intention of transitioning to phase 2. Breaking, Netanyahu promised to keep Smotrich include explicit commitment to resume the war after phase 1 until Hamas defeat, change combat conditions including heavier weapons, limiting humanitarian aid, annexing territory, and encouraging immigration. So they want to settle northern Gaza. That has been their primary purpose of this, okay? That's what they want to do. That's what Bezalel Smotrich wants to do. That's what Itamar Ben-Gvir wants to do. And he's giving them assurances. Now, having said that, if this translates to some kind of retaliation, encouraging immigration, forced displacement, encouraging immigration both from the settler side and forced displacement for the Palestinians. This is what I predicted would happen in my 2024 predictions. If you recall, it just took an extra year. It didn't happen in the year 2024, but basically that is their grand ambition in 2025. They ultimately want the entirety of the Gaza Strip. They want they want mass ethnic displacement in the Gaza Strip and to basically completely repopulate it. Now that is the far right of the cabinet that is filled to the brim with far right individuals regardless. Like the Likudnik are also obviously far right. I am still fearful that they will drop they will drop this deal, but I think that makes Trump look bad, and Trump cares about the way he looks, especially if like people care about what's going on in Palestine right now. When eyes are on the prize, like Trump wants a gift for his inauguration. Basically, it sounds stupid, it sounds silly, but I'm sure he's made side assurances to Benjamin Netanyahu that he will protect Benjamin Netanyahu, but ultimately he has the power. Yeah, I said Bibi would give Trump an optics win at first and then go harder. Exactly. But that means there must be an optics win in the interim, in the short term. And if if Benjamin Netanyahu keeps pummeling Gaza in the interim, in the short term, that doesn't give Trump the optics win. And I told you this down to the minutia, like down to the very last detail. This is what I said is most likely going to take place. So far, that is seemingly what is likely taking place. Do I think anyone from the State Department will get legal recourse? No.